Alright, so today we're gonna rank the 2024 F1 drivers on a tier list based off their first half of the season, how they're performing, and obviously based on overall quality. Are we gonna go reverse championship order, last to first, and starting off with Valtteri Bottas. I don't think this man should be last in the championship, honestly. Yes, he's at no points. Yes, he's had the highest finishing position because Zhou got 11th in Bahrain and Sargeant got 11th in Britain. But I think these results are only good on paper and there's no points between them. So I think Bottas, of the three pointless drivers this season, I think he has been the best, consistently outperforming Zhou Guanyu and putting his Sauber in the points for quite a number of laps sometimes, like we saw in Hungary. And obviously Sauber has let him down with the very slow pit stops, which is why I'm going to put him in the C tier. Nothing too good, nothing too bad. It's just, Bottas is just there, and quite frankly, so is Sauber. And Bottas has been outperforming Zhou, who I'll talk about now. Zhou, I wanted to give him a chance in F1. This is his third year in F1, by the way. And has he shown signs of improvements? I don't think so. Has he shown that he should stay in F1? I don't think so either. So it's gonna be D tier. It was nice to see him race in front of the Chinese fans, obviously. It was an emotional scene to see him crying, but I think he should be crying when Sauber tells him that he has been dropped for next year. And Logan Sargeant, oh dear. Obviously, with the recent announcement of Carlos Sainz replacing him for 2025, it's gonna be a lot harder to judge Sargeant. I think obviously he's had outdated car parts and upgrades as compared to his teammate Alex Albon, and was obviously used as a sacrificial lamb for Williams as they chose to run Albon in his car when Albon crashed in practice 3 and the car was damaged beyond repair. And obviously he has had a good race in Britain where he finished 11th, just shy of the points, and his recent qualifying performances have improved. But with that being said, the mistakes are still there for Sargeant, and I might put him just above Zhou. He's just above Zhou, but obviously not that far ahead. And on to Alex Albon. Obviously, Albon has been kind of careless, having to give Williams a tough decision after crashing the car in practice in Australia. But I think overall he hasn't had a bad season, picked out a couple points, 9th for Britain. I think it's C tier, just ahead of Bottas. It's hard to judge these backmarker teams really. And Esteban Ocon, he's gonna be joining Haas next year. He has been proven to be a liability at times, such as the race in Monaco where Alpine literally wanted to sack him right after the race. But he's very lucky to still be here right now. He actually has put in some good performances. I think he has been consistently outperforming Pierre Gasly. I really think they should have kept Ocon, but I guess something must be happening behind the scenes in order for Alpine to just drop him like that, despite his good performances over the last few years. I think it's gonna be B tier, but it's gonna be a low B tier. Kevin Magnussen. He's dropped by Haas next year, and honestly, rightfully so. He might be a fun guy to watch and a fan favorite, but he has proven to be nowhere near his teammate Nico Hulkenberg. Was he scoring a few points, and obviously he had a Jeddah race where he put in a good performance defensively. In terms of the team game, it didn't make sense from that point of view, but when you look at it in the point of view of sportsmanship and fair driving, he was just not there. He had 30-40 seconds of penalties, I think, or 20, I forgot, for pushing other drivers off the road in order to defend the position. So I think it's gonna be a low C tier for now. And on to Pierre Gasly. He has had good performances, scoring points 4 races in a row until Silverstone stopped that. I think he's below Ocon, but he's not really doing a necessarily bad job, especially with the machinery that Alpine have given him. I think it's gonna be right below Ocon, but there's nothing much between the two. And we're on to Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo has been a driver that I'm puzzled as to why he's even on the grid this year. His years are limited, and I think even if he does get a second Red Bull seat, it'll only be for 1-2 years, and I don't think he will get that redemption for leaving the team from his own decision back in 2019. In terms of the Red Bull seat, I don't think he's gonna be there, not even for 2025. But somehow the Red Bull hierarchy just prefer him, so I don't know. And he's consistently been battered by Yuki Tsunoda this season. In the early part of the season, you can see Tsunoda consistently finish 9th and 10th, while Ricciardo's struggling to finish 15th. and even that crash in Japan. And in all honesty, I think Ricciardo's points tally has been carried a bit by the outstanding sprint performance in Miami. But yet again, that is sprint. You know, if it was a full race distance, would it have been the same? I don't think so. So it's gonna be a C tier, just above Bottas for me. And Yuki Tsunoda, this is probably his best year in F1 so far, and I sometimes wonder just why Red Bull don't consider him for the seat. They don't treat him seriously, like he's just there in their eyes. Like he's just there in their eyes. And in my eyes, I think he should be promoted to the Red Bull seat, because I don't think there's much more he can do. He's top of the bottom half, and you know, he's finally found consistency, which is what he needed over these last few years. So I'm going to put him in a high B tier, not A tier, because I think his performances coming through the mid-season along with the V-Cup car is kind of steeped a bit. But you know, a strong B tier is not bad. And Nico Hulkenberg, what a season he has been having in the Haas. I actually thought in my blog site, I actually predicted the Haas to get 0 points at the start of the season, and as you can tell, that aged superbly well, hasn't it? And yeah, I think to be able to score points putting in performances like Austria where he held off the Red Bull of Sergio Perez, even if Perez did have damage, I think it's still an impressive drive to put that Haas in 6th place. So I think it's gonna be an A tier for me. Yeah, I think what he's doing in the Haas is very good. Is he gonna regret joining Sauber for next year? Maybe. He might regret joining Sauber, but you know, it is what it is, and I can't wait to see how he performs in the second half of the season. Maybe he might even get a surprise result at one point. And here we have Lance Stroll. I think it's like his 7th or 8th year in F1, and I'm gonna be honest, this is good. It's a good season for him, for Lance Stroll standards. So, for Lance Stroll standards, this has been a superb year for him. Obviously, his first few races were not good. He was nowhere near Alonso. But as we approached the mid-season, he started to out-qualify and out-race Alonso at some points. Even if there were team orders that play for 10th place, I think it was in Hungary. So I think he's still inconsistent, but his run of form is still there. It's not like every year where he always goes on like one race per year where he does outstandingly well. I think like this has been a good year for his standards. I think Stroll's gonna be in the mid-C tier. Below Ricciardo, probably. Above the bad guys, probably, yeah. And here we have Fernando Alonso. The wily old fox, as Martin Brundle would like to say. I think the first 2 races for Fernando Alonso, they were very good. But then you have the mid part of the season where he just started to decline. And you might blame Aston Martin for the subpar machinery, but I don't think having subpar machinery does matter when Lance Stroll is beating you. I don't know, are the years finally catching up to old Fernando? Or is he just demotivated and wanting to move on to the next year? I don't know, but it's gonna be a mid to high B tier. I think above Tsunoda, not really. And now we move on to the top guys, as I would like to call it, Mr. George Russell. He's had his wins, he's had good drives, and honestly, race winner. Could have been 2 times, but obviously he was disqualified. I think George Russell has had a pretty good year. You know, the first 7 or 8 races, he was out-qualifying Sir Lewis Hamilton on the daily, every week, week in, week out, constantly outperforming Lewis Hamilton. And that's no mean feat, by the way. Like, it's Lewis Hamilton, one of the greatest to ever drive in the sport. And obviously, you could say the win in Austria was gifted, but you know, as the great Michael Schumacher once said, first you have to finish in order to win. So I think George Russell might go into a high B tier, because in recent races he has kind of dropped back behind Lewis, but that Spa performance was actually quite brilliant. And I think he might just be having a good second half of the season now that Mercedes look to be back. Sergio Perez, it's gonna pain me to say this a lot, but he should be fired from Red Bull. I'm a Perez fan. I've always been a Perez fan. Okay, maybe except last year, but it's just not been a good year for him, hasn't it? The first 3 races, he was where Red Bull needed him to be, you know, in the podium, behind Max, supporting him. But that was when Red Bull had the dominant car. And then all of a sudden, I think Monaco onwards, that's when Perez's form obviously started to have the mid-season slump that he just always has in his Red Bull years. So this Red Bull car, although it might not be great, I think it should be at least top 6, top 5 every race. And to be knocked out in Q1, sometimes due to mistakes of your own, such as Silverstone in Hungary, I just don't think that's acceptable, and it's honestly a surprise that Red Bull have not sacked him yet. But I guess it kind of shows how Red Bull have changed in terms of keeping faith in their drivers. I think Checo has proven himself outside of Red Bull, which is why they might be giving him this second chance for now. But for now, it's gonna be in the D tier, I think. And now Sir Lewis Hamilton. 7-time champion, maybe 8 times. He has kind of found himself in the recent races. 2 wins at Silverstone and Spa. Even if the Spa win wasn't really won on track, I think he did drive a brilliant race. He did lead majority of the race before Russell elected to go on the other strategy. And he did say that he had a lot of tyres in him. So yeah, the last few races have been good for Hamilton. Obviously the podium in Hungary as well. At the scene of the crime to the McLarens, which I will get to later. But we shouldn't forget that like the early start of the season, Hamilton wasn't at the level of Russell. Like George Russell was consistently outperforming him, which is quite something to be outqualified by a younger teammate. But you know, Hamilton is old, he's moving to Ferrari, so maybe the first few races he was quite demotivated until he realized that the Mercedes is not 100% a garbage can. So I'm gonna put him in B tier right below Tsunoda, I think. I'm gonna put him right below Russell, ahead of Tsunoda. The wins carried this rating, honestly, but you know, if you win a race, that's how you get the ratings boost, and he's ahead of Russell in the standings, I think, but that might be due to the Silverstone engine failure and the Spa disqualification, which was very unlucky. Carlos Sainz, the man who has been the hot topic of the driver market, leaving Ferrari. He has a point to prove to the rest of the teams, and what he's proven is a race win at Australia. He had a podium in Bahrain at the early part of the season, missed the race at Saudi, and then obviously he came back and won the Australian Grand Prix, which is actually quite a good story from his appendicitis, recovering, coming back to win ahead of teammate Leclerc. Obviously, you could say it's due to Verstappen's engine failure, but you know, you have to be there, you have to be in the places to inherit the positions, because if it's you who's not winning, that's probably the other drivers, and he stood out above the other drivers in Australia, but he did not stand out against the other drivers for the rest of the season. As much as I hate to admit it, I think after Australia, that's when he started to get outperformed by Charles Leclerc a lot more. Even when Leclerc has had that run of races where he just had zero luck, Carlos Sainz still hasn't been able to pass him in the Drivers' Championship, and that might be due to the Saudi Arabia race that he missed. Although I think he has been consistently outperformed by Charles Leclerc this year, so it's gonna be a B tier right above Tsunoda, I think. That might be because of the win, like Hamilton's rating, but you know, it is what it is. Alright, now down to the final 4. Oscar Piastri, the McLaren star, has had a standout year, I think, in the McLaren, winning his first race at Hungary under controversial circumstances with the team orders and things. But he shouldn't have been behind in the first place, and it was all a McLaren mistake. But he was a good drive to get Norris off the start and obviously win the race. So I think it's gonna be a high B tier, I think just below Russell. Okay, he's gonna be below Russell because there was a run of races where Norris was fighting for wins and podiums, and where was Piastri? I don't know. There was Miami where he could have won instead of Norris, arguably, but other than that, he was not anywhere near Norris. But mid-season, he did start to pick up the form a bit. In Mola, he had the very unlucky grid penalty, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But for some races, I don't know, he has a lot to learn still, and I think he is starting to learn. Charles Leclerc, I think he has had a great year this year, consistently finishing in the top 4 in the first few races of the season. I think it was up until Monaco, where he did win the Monaco Grand Prix, finally, breaking the Monaco curse. Years of agony, all washed away with just one race, which was a beautiful sight. Childhood dream accomplished, and obviously I think he has made a lot of people happy with that one. It's a feel-good story, and I think the narrative that Leclerc bottles, it's just, he's wiped out that narrative basically. I think Leclerc has done an amazing job this year. He's been consistent, he has been up there for podiums, you know. Like, he might not have won in Australia, but I think Ferrari ordered him to stay back a bit to secure the 1-2. And Leclerc, somehow, despite the unlucky run of races in Canada and Austria and Silverstone, I think he has had a consistently amazing season. So because of that, I'm going to put him in the A tier. Lando Norris. I think this is probably Lando's first year in like a proper race-winning car, and he has had the pole positions and obviously that first win in Miami. But that win in Miami was quite gifted, and I think what we should not overstate is Lando Norris's tendency to bottle whenever he has the chance to win races. He has had those moments where he just couldn't get off the line better, where he just makes a crucial mistake at a very crucial time. But he has to be clinical, he just makes mistakes that cost him the race win, and then at the post-race interviews he'll do his ifs, buts, ands, which is getting quite repetitive and irritating at this point. And obviously you had Austria where he could have won the race, but unfortunately Mad Max came back and collided into him. And although you could argue that it's Norris' fault for going around the outside, I don't know, I think it was more of a racing incident, but the stewards decided to penalize Max. So I think Lando's behavior in the post-race obviously was unacceptable. The way he was talking, I wasn't a fan of the way he was talking. And obviously at Hungary, he could have won, but McLaren were begging him to let him by. We give him the benefit of the doubt for that. But what I can't give him the benefit of the doubt were the races where he started on pole, lost the good starts, chased down Max a little too late. You know, he could have won a lot more this season, but he just hasn't. So I'm gonna put him in A tier, just below Charles. Yep. I'm just below Charles. Why below Charles? I think Charles is doing all he can with the Ferrari that's been given to him. But Lando Norris, the McLaren's fast. He can win races, but he just hasn't, unfortunately. And now we're on to Max Verstappen. The first few races of the season, it looked like Max Verstappen was just gonna do his usual 2023 thing. Dominate and win races, you know, the usual. But then, Red Bull started to be on the decline in performance, and that costed Red Bull valuable ground in terms of the pecking order, and other teams just started to catch up to them. And I think Max Verstappen has managed that well, winning in Canada, coming runner-up, almost winning in Austria, and obviously you had that Silverstone race, but we won't talk about that. Silverstone, I think he did as much as he could with the machinery that was given to him, as well as Spa, which is actually unlucky because he was on pole by 6/10 of a second. And then you had Austria, where he could have won, slammed in the side of Norris. And then you had Hungary, where he lost his marbles on the radio, which was hilarious to watch at the time, but in retrospect, it's not a good look on him. Losing his head when he's not in the race winning position, it is looking very doubtful for Red Bull heading into the second half of the season. But you know, Verstappen's still leading the championship by a considerable margin, and because of that, we have to put him at the very top. And guys, that concludes my tier list for now. What do you think of the tier list? Should some drivers have been put higher? Should the likes of Piastri or Stroll or whatever been put higher? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys for my next video. Bye bye.